Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations. I've been dreaming back many years to my childhood. Of late, might have something to do with my ill health and my feeling of getting old and decrepit. I spoke with my 95-year-old dad this morning who said, "You're not old and decrepit by any means yet." But anyway, in March of 1966, I was first licensed as WN0OKV, and the phonetics back then were Oscar King Victor. I had a Viking Adventurer transmitter, 50 watts, and a Hallicrafters SX130 receiver. Was limited to crystal control, and my first frequency was 7,185 kilocycles. But I was eager to get into voice operation, not knowing that I would eventually evolve into a CW hound. Back then I wanted to talk on the radio, and the only band that the novices could use that would allow voice communication was the 2-meter band, and only a slice of that, I believe 145 to 147 megacycles, with the same power limitations. I don't know whether we were allowed to use VFOs, variable frequency oscillators, or not, but the primary mode of communication was AM simplex. And a friend of mine had his dad was a radio ham. I forget his call sign now, but he had a homebrew 2-meter AM transmitter and receiver, a transceiver that was about the size of a small portable refrigerator and weighed just about as much. All the aforementioned equipment, including this 2-meter radio, were vacuum tube operated. It ran probably 50 watts AM, and I think the frequency was probably something on the order of 146.52 megahertz. No repeaters. We operated simplex AM on 2 meters, and I got my first taste of voice communication that way. We had a local round table every night in Rochester, Minnesota, where we talked about everything except the weather, of course. And I thought it was interesting and fun, but I seemed to always revert to CW as my primary mode of communication. In March of 1967, I passed my general class license exam in the venerable old St. Paul courthouse building, and then I was able to use a variable frequency oscillator and all these other exotic modes. Single sideband was just coming into its day back in 1967. And WA0 Oscar King Victor. Tried a few voice contacts, but always ended up back on CW again. I forget, I think I must have gotten a different transceiver. A National 200, I believe, was the name of the radio. That was a single sideband transceiver. So I was able to operate voice as well as code. Now, of course, the phonetics have changed. I would have been Whiskey Alpha Zero Ocean Kilo Victor. In those olden days, 2-letter call signs were just for real old timers, and I only got this Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations, which are not official phonetics, by the way, if you haven't guessed, at ARRL headquarters when I worked there, starting in 1977. That would have been 10 years after I first got my general class license. and a good long time ago from now, where I yammer at you about my first 2-meter radio, the old AM boat anchor, probably weighed 300 pounds, built by the dad of a friend who happened to be a radio ham in the same town and liked to build all his own equipment. 2-meter AM simplex. Stan Gibilisco, W1GV, saying 73 and so long, which on 2-meter AM simplex would probably have translated into keying the microphone button with the rhythm da-da-da-da-da-da, so long.